Welcome into the Verizon Post Game Show on the heels of an absolute incredible come-from-behind win for your Philadelphia Eagles. They were down 26-7 with about 14 minutes left to play in the third quarter, so a minute into it, and they absolutely took it to the LA Rams after that, asserting dominance. Jalen Hurts turned it on, the defense stepped up, and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, the law firm of Carter and Davis, were dominating the line of scrimmage, especially on special teams. Seth, we were saying it while we were watching this game, it was going to be a tough hole to dig out of, but yet the team that finds a way to win week in and week out, well, they took the bumpiest road imaginable, but they made it smooth sailing at the end there.
Well, we've been saying win by all means necessary, and if this wasn't indicative of that today, good Lord. I mean, it's just amazing that a team can look so bad one half and come back and look so good in the second half, collectively, because defensively they were a horror show. They were obviously a horror show on offense with 43 yards of total offense in a whole half of a game. And then they turn around and Jalen Hurts just shows everybody what he can do when given the opportunity to open the offense up and do what he does best.
You know, they continuously talk about Jalen can't throw the ball. Jalen can't make the big plays. And the Rams dared him to throw the football in the second half. They took Saquon out of the game again. They said Jalen's going to have to beat us. And lo and behold, as Jalen has said time and time again at the podium when he talks to the media, all I care about is winning. That's all that matters is winning. And he beat you in so many different ways. He beat you in the mind games. You don't rattle. I mean, look how many times he got hit in that first half. I mean, he got blindsided a couple of good shots in that first half. A lot of quarterbacks, when they drop back to pass after that, they're looking for where the pressure comes from and takes their eyes off the receiver, and the timing route is off. Jalen just stood tall in the pocket, delivered strike after strike. A.J., no catches in the first half, all of a sudden comes to life. Has over 100 yards received. Two big catches in the second half of this game for A.J., where he spun out of a tackle and picked up additional yards. You know, this team is still not firing on all cylinders, and yet this defending championship team is sitting here at 3-0. It's amazing how they arrived at 3-0, but the bottom line is they're at 3-0, plain and simple.
226 yards. Jalen Hurts finished this game with today. 226 yards
Wow.
after minus 1 yard of passing in the first half in its entirety.
Wow.
Now, this is a question.
Minus 1 yard. Say that again, minus 1 yard.
Negative 1 yard. There's 0, and then there's less than that. That's minus 1. Then in the second half, he was absolutely incredible. He was every bit of the Super Bowl MVP that we saw. And it just looked like when they went down 26-7. Now, you don't obviously want to be down 26-7. You don't want that to be the switch that has to flip the offense into high gear and the defense as well. But Jalen Hurts absolutely did that. What changed in the second half, Seth, for this Eagles offense to all of a sudden look like they were having success in moving the ball downfield?
Well, they opened up the offense. You know, obviously, what the Eagles want to do is they want to be a running football team. They want to run the football, get the play action, and get to the passing game that way. It was pretty clear in the second half that they put the onus on Jalen and said, hey, we're down. The only way we're going to come back is we need you to go out and throw the football. And he did just that. This is the nonsense that, you know, really rubs me the wrong way about the narrative about Jalen, okay? They're running the offense that they want him to run, which is run the ball with Saquon and then pass the ball off the run. But every single time that their backs are against the wall and they ask Jalen Hurts, D-Gun, to be the guy to carry the team, he's able to do it. He did it throughout the playoffs last year. He did it against Pittsburgh in the regular season last year. He just did it again today. So that tells me that he can do it. Now, it may be all about turnover management from the standpoint of, hey, we want to keep Jalen right around 25 to 26 passes per game. But this was a situation where they had to turn him loose in the second half. They had no other choice. That was the only way that they were going to get back in this football game, okay? And, yeah, he had one or two throws that could have been intercepted, but they weren't. He got lucky. But here we go 3 weeks into the season, and he hasn't turned the ball over yet. The Eagles haven't turned the football over one time, but the Eagles are +3, I believe, you know, in the turnover department. And this just tells me, guys, that they're going to have to, at some point in time, they're going to have to turn Jalen Hurts loose and let him be the onus in order to loosen up. I said it in the pregame. Sometimes you have to run the ball in order to set up the pass, and sometimes you have to pass the ball to set up the run. If everybody's intent is going to be to take Saquon away, then you may have to come out and throw the ball in order to get Saquon going.
I have one question, just real quick. Was somebody mad at Jalen Hurts in the first half? Why is Matt Pryor coming into the game instead of Fred Johnson? Did you want to get Jalen? Did you think you needed to knock some sense into him?
He got him killed at first. Oh, my goodness.
Don't get me started, man.
Oh, no, the quarter's in the machine, Seth. Go ahead.
Look at all you got to do, go and look at my tweet on Twitter. The minute they put Fred Johnson in the game, I'm like, you have cut Matt Pryor 20 times. 20 times. You know Matt Pryor can't play dead. Why you going to put him in there and put your quarterback at risk when Fred Johnson has proven time and time again that he is an able-bodied backup for Lane Johnson? That made no sense to me whatsoever. The minute they put him in, you even heard Greg Olsen say in the broadcast, the minute that he came in the game, it kind of stabilized things. That made no sense to me.
Matt Pryor has pictures of somebody in this organization, I'm telling you. Because every time you think he's not coming back, it's like Freddy Krueger, man. When you think you put him down for good, he resurfaces again and wreaks more havoc. If I'm the Eagles, Matt, I call him in the office after the game tonight. Matt, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your services. You've meant a lot to this organization, Matt. You really have. But you're just not what we're looking for, what we need moving forward. But somehow, some way, Seth, I think we may have this discussion again somewhere that Matt Pryor is going to be in the game, and we're sitting there going, why in the world is he in the football game? I don't know what it is about this guy. They keep bringing him back.
If he gets in another game in the Eagles uniform, I'm going to break a TV.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Don't do that. We need to watch the game.
Man.
We need to watch the game, man.
There got to be some better options. Obviously, Fred Johnson is the better option, but there got to be another better option out there as a third tackle than him. Because ever since he's been here, all the times that he's been here and left and come back, I've never seen anything impressive about him. All he's done is gotten beaten like a war drum every single time he's on the field. And he almost got Jalen killed today.
Yeah, not a good look, obviously, for the Eagles' offensive line in place of Lane Johnson. Of course, we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. Fred Johnson did come out and stabilize things on the outside, even leading the way for Saquon, one of his biggest runs of the day. Now, that's one Jalen. That's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Carter played well today on the defensive line. Looked like he was grabbing that arm with the stinger. But the other Georgia boy, man, oh my goodness gracious. Looking at Jordan Davis and what he was able to do today. Let's get to our mid-Penn Bank player to bank on. Jordan Davis, absolutely incredible what he was able to do today. Talk about controlling that line of scrimmage. How about this? Blocking a field goal, in on blocking the one earlier in the game as well with Jalen Carter. Then comes up not only with blocking the field goal, but a 44-yard return for a touchdown to make this game look like the Eagles were in control the entire time. That man might be the best walking endorsement of Peloton in the history of humanity.
Oh, by the way.
What do you got?
5 tackles, 5 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, and a TFL. Jordan Davis, y'all. We talking about Jordan Davis, not Jalen Carter. We talking about Jordan Davis.
This is 1 year. He's essentially. This is what's amazing. At the end of last season, we went around the horn at the end of the regular season. We said, did Jordan Davis earn his stripes yet? Did he earn a contract extension? The Eagles just said, you know what? He's basically going to be on that rookie pickup, 1 year, $13 million. We'll see where it goes from there. 3 games into the season, 1 game, the first game of the season, he didn't have Jalen Carter. He played an exorbitant amount of snaps after only playing 37% of the snaps in the all of last year on average. This time out, first 3 games, he has looked every bit of a guy worthy of a long-term contract.
That man looked like Usain Bolt running down the field with that football, man. You know, but you're right. The first 3 games, he has been outstanding in the trenches. And obviously losing that weight has done wonders for him. And it's amazing how the complexion and the makeup of players change when they're in that contract year, when they're looking for that money. All of a sudden, they get more serious about their game. But, hey, lo and behold, you couldn't have picked a better time to be doing what you're doing because you have made some definitive plays that have been instrumental in helping this team get the all-important W's 3 consecutive weeks now.
What has gone on with this defensive line, excuse me? I mean, usually we're talking about the Eagles, when we're talking about the line, we're talking about the trenches, we're talking about dominance of the offensive line. We're not touching nearly as – we're talking about Jalen Carter, but this entire defensive line has been on another level.
Well, today, though, in the first half, I was shocked, and we sat there and talked about it. And the Rams were winning the war of the trenches in that first half. Kyron Williams was picking up 5. I mean, they were gashing them left and right. And we weren't used to seeing that in the first 2 games from the Eagles' defensive line. For the most part, and every dog has its day. You're not going to be perfect every day, and as good as you are, you're not going to be dominant every day. Teams are going to scheme to try to find ways to open up holes, and they did. The Rams did that, which was instrumental in them building up that big lead. But lo and behold, when they had to make plays, when they had to bow up and make definitive plays, they did just that. And a lot of times, you know what? Greatness is not predicated on you being great every play. It's predicated on you being great when you have to be. And that's when these guys bowed up. They were great when they had to be.
The Eagles defense, they got a lot of young guys. And they're going to have to, grow up real quick. Because in the first half, they made a lot of mistakes. Like, there was one blitz where you had 2 linebackers that hit the same gap, and there was only one blitzer. I know that blitz is supposed to be ran. One guy's supposed to go inside. The other guy's supposed to go outside. And that was the one where it looked like Puka Nacua actually dropped the ball. But if the linebacker hits the proper gap, we're not even talking about that. And maybe the game takes on a whole different, tilt from that standpoint. But they're going to have to grow up because they made a lot of mistakes in the first half of this football game. I said in pregame, the Rams, their offense is predicated on their ability to run the football. And they don't have to they don't have to run the ball proficiently, but they need to run it efficiently in order for their offense to work the way that they want it to work, because then they can get the play action pass, the bootlegs, and all of those things. The Rams rushed for 160 yards on 31 carries today. That's 5.2 yards per carry. The Eagles are going to have to fix that because every team is going to come in and want to do that. Now, as bad as they played in the first half, you can talk about how great they played in the second half. And, we're going to celebrate the fact that they won this football game. Again, they found a way to win. But when you start to look at the season moving forward, you look at these little small things, like being in the right position so you can hold the edge, coverage-wise, being in phase and like Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship is not a speedster. So the one thing he can't do is he can't ever get himself in a position where he's got to try to catch up or he's got to run stride for stride with somebody, okay? That touchdown to Davante Adams, he's a half-field safety, okay? He had no vertical threat but Davante Adams the entire time. And the problem was he stood flat-footed and allowed Davante Adams to get on him and then turn and tried to run. Well, you have to be getting depth and getting over the top of everything from the minute the ball snapped. It's not your job to play the run when you're playing cover 2. You got to get your depth, get to your halves, and react from there. Well, he stood flat-footed and he ran right. And you know what? That kind of thing happens quite a bit to Reed Blankenship. So these little small details, even though they won the football game, are things that they're going to have to fix moving forward because other teams are going to look at the film and see those little mistakes that are being made, and they're going to game plan those things and go after.
But when you're a safety like a Reed Blankenship, you don't have the most speed, Seth. Let me ask you this then, because he's going to face a number of incredible wide receivers, and a lot of these wide receivers are so good, like a Davante Adams, in terms of setting you up for their move. And you see Pro Bowl safeties and corners getting worked over. What else can he do? I mean, we talk about him getting better in technique. Okay, but a lot of times there has to be a certain instinct in anticipation that goes beyond just technique itself, because you've got receivers out there that make their claim to fame for making secondary people look bad. So what can he do to enhance his overall play?
Well, that's where, and a lot of times he's right. On that play, he was wrong because he kind of got caught up. I don't know where his eyes was. I mean, I got to go back and look at the film and see where his eyes were. But they were 2-by-2, and you had Davante Adams in the slot.
Right.
Okay? So, and they're in cover 2. So when the outside receiver ran a stop, okay, that forced Quinyon Mitchell to stop and honor that. Now, the vertical threat, unless you're playing 2 carry, and you get the inside guy that's being carried by either the slot or the linebacker on that side, that means that the safety's got to get over top. And that vertical threat, whether it's a seam or whether it's, the slot fade is actually what he ran. But you have to, he's got to get over top of it right now. And if Devontae is setting him up, I know what you're saying. Yep. He may stutter a little bit to make it look like he's going to run like a 15-yard sit down. Well, guess what? You're going to have to give that up because the corner bit up instead of trying to close the honey hole behind him.
Right.
Okay? So if that's the case, get on top of him and be willing to give up that. But if the name of the game is to create explosive plays and defend the explosive plays, then you got to err on the side of not giving up the explosive play and giving up the 10 or 15-yard and having to come up and make the tackle. That's the only other recourse that he has. Can Vic Fangio, give him some help and call 2 carry? Absolutely. But that's the way that they played it. And if that's the way they're going to play it, then he's got to get over the top and his eyes have got to be in the right spot.
Well, on that note, getting away from the technique, maybe some of these players, maybe the way they're coached as well, 26 points by the Rams in the first 31 minutes of this game. Goose eggs the rest of the way. Was there anything you noticed from Vic Fangio, any adjustment made in that regard that helped keep the Rams in check?
I just thought that they played smarter. All the things that I'm critical of in the first half, they were spot on in the second half. And like I said in my halftime, report that I posted on social media, I'm pretty sure they got a pretty good tongue lashing once they got in the locker room when Vic Fangio got down from the press box. Because the things that they were making mistakes on are things that I'm sure that they drill over and over and over and over again. And, I'm not being overly critical because I've been in that situation before, where you have a bad half of just making mental mistakes, where it looks like, you didn't even prepare. But then all of a sudden you go down and you get, a tongue lashing and you come out in the second half and all the things that you were doing wrong in the second half, you get it right in the first half, I should say. You get it right in the second half. And that's pretty evident. To be able to take a team that scores 26 points on you in the first half and in the 30 minutes of second half play, they don't get no points at all. Now, granted, they blocked 2 field goals, but that's part of the defense too. So all of that kind of, plays into, the overall deal. But I promise you, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall. I guarantee you, Vic Fangio laid into their behinds in the locker room at halftime.
I just thought the Rams went to a more conservative approach once they built that 26-7 lead. I thought they stopped attacking and were basically trying to run the clock down, hopefully trying to sustain drives just to run enough clock down that the Eagles couldn't catch up, and it backfired on them. And then when they tried to go back to the game, the Eagles were ready for them. You look at how many passes Matthew Stafford sailed to receivers that were open, either on the out routes or over the middle. And those things eventually catch up to you and bite you in the behind. And lo and behold, he did today.
Well, it's funny that this is coming up right now because even at halftime, going into it, I even said to you, Vic Fangio this week was talking about how he doesn't have any time to really make adjustments just at halftime because you're talking about really a 13-minute window that he has maybe 4 or 5 minutes in because he's got to get down from the box, he's got to get in the elevator, he's got to get down to the locker room, he's got to address the room or the players or his coaches, then he's got to get back up and be back in the booth. So literally, you're talking about 4 or 5 minutes. That movies, TV has done the disservice. Everyone thinks it's this long, drawn-out period at halftime for the coaches to address everything. That's not the case. So he said you got to make adjustments as the game is going on.
Yeah.
It looked to me right before the half, it looked like they wanted to get in to halftime as fast as possible. And after that, you saw a changing of the guard there. You say tongue lashing. How much change could you really enforce in your defense in that small amount of time?
Listen, it's not the fact that you're trying to change so much as guys playing the way that they're supposed to play. They missed tackles in the first half. They blew assignments in the first half. And as a coach, you're gonna get on your guys and say, hey, dude, we practiced this. See, this is the whole thing about throwing players under the bus that I don't like. Because if we practice something 10 times in a week and you screw it up on Sunday, that's on you, not me, the coach. So I'm supposed to stand up in front of the world and say I got to coach them better? No. How much damn coaching you want me to do? So if they've gone through it and worked on it in practice, in film, and in their private time, study, there's no reason for the coach to be the one to have to take the blame. The players have to have some accountability. Now, you talk about Vic Fangio and his comments about making halftime adjustments. Now you understand why it's so hard to be a defensive coordinator in the National Football League. When you think back about Jonathan Gannon and the situations where teams had success against us in game and we couldn't make the adjustments. Sean Desai, Matt Patricia, okay? Now you can understand why they were not able to make the adjustments, because not all coordinators are created equal, okay? Vic Fangio's been around a long time. And when the offense is on the field, he can take a little whiteboard and diagram and come up with ways and adjustments to what a team is having success with and shut it down. Not every defensive coordinator can do that because they don't have that experience and they don't have that breadth of understanding of how their defense works and how they can make the adjustments here or there. Maybe it's putting a guy in a 2 technique instead of a 3, or playing him head up, to control a run situation. Maybe it's going to the 5-man front, which they did a lot. They lined up in the 5-man front. They shifted to the 5-man front quite a bit to try to figure out how to stop the run. If you remember, in previous years, they had the same situation. They couldn't stop the run unless they were in a 5-man front. So I give, Vic Fangio a ton of credit, because he's able to do what a lot of coordinators can't do, especially the young ones. Like, they got an idea of what they want to do and how they want to do it, but their ability to adjust it and add new wrinkles here or there and communicate it to your players and get them to adjust on the fly at the same time.
And Fangio may have been misleading just a little bit, because of games, when it hits the 2-minute warning and the coaches are in the press box, they have security detail that hold the elevator for the coaches to go down. So usually, in a lot of cases, the coaches get to the locker room before the players get off the field. So you do have a full complement of maybe 11 minutes to sit there and jaw jack with your players, especially when you're not playing up to par.
Yeah. You've gotten yelled at to get off those elevators too?
Oh, yeah.
It happens every meeting.
Yeah.
That's for the coaches. That's for the coaches. Get out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of the way.
All right, when we come back, we hope to hear from one of the coaches, Nick Sirianni, obviously, during his post-game press conference. We'll also hear what you guys have to say when we check in with our social media coordinator, Bailey Livesey. All that more when we return on the Verizon Post Game Show.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer, like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging, our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. We've been talking all about the Philadelphia Eagles and their 33-26 win, come from behind victory over the LA Rams. An incredible second half performance by Jalen Hurts, as well as this Philadelphia Eagles defense. A couple of blocked field goals in this game as well. You've heard what we've had to say about it. Let's check in with our social media coordinator, Bailey Livesey, right now. We want to hear what you guys are talking about in the chat and around social media. Bailey, what's going on?
Well, Mark, this game had everyone on the edge of their seats, and it is visible on social media. Many people are talking about Kevin Patullo. And Seth, I know you mentioned last week that we have to give him and this offense time to kind of figure out the works here. Do you still have that stance after today's game, or do you think he needs to be held more accountable?
No, I think he needs to do more of what he did in the second half, Bailey. I feel like they used some RPO. You saw Jalen use his legs a little more. I kind of talked about that in the pregame. I said that the Rams have traditionally, the last 3 or 4 times that they've played them, they've had issues and had problems with that. We hadn't seen a whole bunch of the RPO, in the first 2 games. I just think that they need to open the offense up. They need to assess very early whether they need to pass to run or run to pass. And then they need to implement the RPO. The other part of the RPO that I just haven't seen enough of either is the passing part of the RPO. When that end crashes down and Jalen pulls it, he doesn't have to run it every time, because if that cornerback or that linebacker steps up, that means there's a hole behind him. I'd like to see us get back to doing some of that. But I felt like they needed some time, but it seems to me, after looking at the offense today, everything that they have is right there at their disposal, and everybody's going to say, hey, we've been saying open the offense up, throw the ball down the field. But the problem was the Rams had a sizable lead, and they decided to play a lot of man coverage. And A.J. Brown 8, and Devontae Smith 8, and Dallas Goedert 8 in some situations. And you got to put that on them. Most teams will live in a zone against the Eagles because they want to keep everything in front of them. But the minute you start giving Jalen Hurts that look, he's going to hurt you.
Yeah, I was wildly impressed by what you saw from Jalen Hurts today. And one of my concerns going into this game was, is this going to be the game where they unleash fury when it comes to the passing game? The second half, they were able to do that. The Eagles have said throughout last year, the year before that, even before the collapse, they had talked all about how they find ways to win. Well, the route to winning was going to be in the passing game, most likely going up against Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and now Devontae Adams as well. And when push came to shove, they just unleashed Gunner in that second half, and Jalen Hurts also with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, they ate.
I think Kevin Patullo should send a bouquet of flowers to the Rams for this win, simply because the Eagles have not been that far behind in the game in the 2 previous games. And as we talked about while we were watching the game, the Eagles are going to have to open this game up more and go to the air. So I think this might have been a little teaser of what Patullo can do with this offense. I think this is going to have him go back, sit behind closed doors with Sirianni, and open this up more. I think in a lot of situations now that we've seen 3 consecutive games, Saquon hasn't come close to the century mark, they're going to have to come out throwing the football first. Yeah. You got to throw the football to loosen them up. And Patullo, I think that'll help get a lot of people off his back also, because with the weapons they have, the umbrella of weapons they have across the board, and what Goddard had 1 catch for a touchdown, went down the seam, caught a touchdown catch, and he's not 100% healthy. So if you get him healthy and you got this umbrella of weapons, and every now and then you got Dotson contributing, you're going to have a lot of teams backing off. And when they back off, boom, Saquon killed him, 7, 8, 9 yards. So, Patullo, call the Rams defensive coordinator and say, hey, thank you for what you did for me today, because you got a lot of people off my back here in Philadelphia, at least for a moment.
I also feel like, one of the reasons why I feel like the Eagles need to implement a little more of the RPO and the read option, and I get it. They want to keep Jalen healthy. The 2 things, they want to keep him healthy, and they want to minimize the amount of turnovers. But I don't like a lot of the plays that they call where they're running Saquon right up the middle. They don't get on the edges enough. They don't get him moving enough. I'm not seeing offensive linemen pulling and then blocking back and getting on the edges and kicking stuff out and trying to get out on the edge and giving Saquon the ability to either take it outside or pick a lane back inside, on some of those zone plays and pick his own hole. Like, a lot of what they're running is Jalen gets the ball, he turns a hand to Saquon, and Saquon is running straight between the guards. And they're getting a whole lot of nothing. So I really love to see them vary their offense, stretch the defense a little bit, test the integrity of teams' defensive ends and rush and edge rushers, and try to get on the outside.
All right, Bailey, what else do you have for us? What are the people talking about on social media?
Well, at BirdGangRod89 on X said that the Eagles' defense is what kept us in this game. And then we saw that Jordan Davis play at the end. Is it fair to say that the defense carried the team to this win?
I can't say
After
that.
26 points in the first half, I can't say.
I can't say that. And even in the second half, the Rams were moving the ball, but 2 key blocked field goals is the difference in this ball game today. I think this Eagles defense had some letdowns today. I think the offense basically carried them. Once the offense tasted the end zone, I think the offense basically picked up the slack and carried this team. You know, the first 2 games, it was the defense making definitive plays that enabled them to win that game, putting them in prime field position. But today, this offense finally came to light. You know, over the last 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes, they were dead to rights. But the last 30 minutes, once they found they could go to the air with success, especially with A.J., who had no catches in the first half, and yet finished with over 100 yards in receiving in the second half. Today was the offense's day to shine.
Yeah, I'll say this. Special teams in the early goings of this,
Yeah.
A worry,
Oh, my
a
goodness.
concern, actually. You're talking about, I don't know, 4, 5 muffed kickoffs, unfortunately?
5.
5 in kickoffs here.
Yeah.
Not punts, kickoffs. You're talking about Mechie being back there, who's not a returner. I don't know why all of a sudden the Eagles are christening him a returner. Bigsby was acquired to do this.
Yeah.
He didn't look so good either.
Yeah.
But when it came to special teams, it's funny. I think this would have been the longest shot of long shots. Jordan Davis is player of the game, both defensively and on special teams as well. Seth, I did not see that one coming.
Well, listen, I'm not going to go that far because it was a tale of 2 halves for the offense. You know, I think that this was, you know, a total team win. Show me an instance in a game where the defense doesn't have to get some key stops and the offense doesn't have to perform, and I'll show you a team that's actually lost the game because they failed in one of the 2 major phases of the game, either offense or defense. So I'm going to split it right down the middle. The Eagles won this game because of both their defense and their offense. Not so much about their offense in the second half, okay, in the first half rather, but so much more about it in the second half. And for the defense, not so much, you know, for it in the second half, but the first half. And we can talk about the fact that the Eagles defense gave up no points in the second half, but they also blocked 2 field goals, you know, which were actually huge. That's on the special teams side. So now you have the combination of all 3 phases playing significant roles in this W.
All right.
I agree, but I have to say the offense going long, sustained drives took a lot of heat off this defense, gave them extended time to rest. I mean, you look at, you know, one drive, 5 plays, 79 yards, 220, okay, it's short, 13 plays, 87 yards. 17 plays, 91 yards, almost a 7-minute drive. Gave that defense a lot of time to recoup and get rested. And so we've given the defense a lot of credit the first 2 games of this season. I just think they had an off day today. And we talked about in the pregame show. There seems to be communication issues still on the back end of this defense. We saw that again today in this game. But that's part of the growing process, the maturation of a young team. They have the youngest starting defense in the National Football League. So there's going to be those growing pains. But the good thing is they're growing while they're racking up W's. How many times do we see stuff like this and teams consecutively find ways to lose games? This team finds a way to win games. And that's important for them building character, in terms of building camaraderie, no finger pointing, and especially guys who are doing this for the first time or even the second time, enhancing the confidence is tremendous.
So what's the temperature in the city this week?
In the city?
Yeah, do the fans and the media in particular, do they look at this, you know, as a landmark win, their ability to come back in this game and win? Or they look at the inefficiencies of the first half and the mistakes that the defense made along the way, you know, and make a big deal out of that? You know, to me, it's a little bit of both.
Sure.
I don't think you criticize them at all because the defense is still learning. We expect for them to perform the way they did in the first half rather, from time to time. We expected to see the offense in the second half be what it was, you know, throughout the first 3 games in totality across the board. So in a lot of ways, the offense and Jalen has kind of put some things to rest so people can shut up and stop complaining a little bit. And on the defensive side of the ball, you know, even though we feel like they've carried the team through, you know, the last 2 games, they had their moments today where they looked pretty bad.
What city do we live in?
The city of brotherly love.
Okay. and are we ever satisfied
You
with
like
anything?
that?
I love it.
Are we ever satisfied with anything?
Well, I
You're
mean,
going to have complainers throughout the week. They're going to complain about Petulo in the first half. They're going to complain about special teams getting chunked in the punt return game and stuff of that nature. And they talk about what happened in the first half. And they're going to complain about the defense's performance or lack thereof in the first half.
Yeah.
People will celebrate the win, but there are also going to be a lot of dark clouds throughout the course of the week.
Well, listen, the one thing I'm not going to do, D-Gun, is I'm not going to complain about anything because it's still early. It's still early in the season. They won the game.
Yes.
Okay. They had to come back from behind. That's going to build character.
Yes.
You know, the offense showed life finally. Okay, and the defense had a bad half and came back and followed up in the second half with a good half. What more can you ask for? Let's just revel in this team, enjoy that they're 3-0 through this growth phase, and hope that, you know, within the next game or two, they begin to really hit their stride and take the NFL by storm. Because guess what? I bet you a dollar to a dime that there's a whole bunch of people out there that believe that the Eagles will probably be 1-2 or 2-1 at this point in time, yet they find themselves undefeated.
Yep.
I have approached this season with a to hell with negativity mentality, in all honesty. This Philadelphia Eagles team is coming off a Super Bowl championship. Before that Super Bowl, people were, I'm terrified if Jalen Hurts has to throw, what's going to happen to this team? Oh, he was only the Super Bowl MVP, and you blew out a 3-time Super Bowl champion seeking dynasty of a Kansas City Chiefs team. A lot of thanks to Jalen Hurts and all that. I'm seeing a lot of comments of, oh, now the haters got to shut up about Jalen Hurts because he really led him in the second half. Did you miss the Super Bowl where he did that? And then the other thing here is we are in a time right now in Philadelphia. This isn't a popular opinion because you always, you want to get the negative, you want to stir the pot, blah, blah, blah. The quarterback we've waited forever for as a Philadelphia Eagles fan base is here right now playing for your team. He is a defending Super Bowl champion quarterback who, by the way, has already been to 2 Super Bowls. To me, this is the moment we've waited a long time for. You talk about negativity. You talk about losing Jalen Carter before a snap in week 1. They still won that game against a rival. You talk about going up against the Chiefs team, that, you're on the road against the Chiefs, revenge game for them. They still won that game. Then you go into this game, you're down 26-7, and Jalen Hurts, and yes, the defense and special teams, but Jalen Hurts starred in all of this in that second half to make sure that this team came back and got a victory. Negativity, you're down 20. Find a way to win. Are they going to be able to throw the ball to win? Well, they answered that question in the second half, and to me, this was an awesome win for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And that man had 0 yards passing in the National Football League in the first 30 minutes of a football game. 0 yards passing. He finished with 226? And what was his passer rating for the game?
Over 100.
There you
117.
go. That's all you need to know.
Not too bad. 3
all you
touchdowns.
need to know.
3. No tutties coming into this
all
one.
you need to know.
3 through the air in this
and did
one.
he turn the ball over?
1 time on the fumble.
Okay.
That's it.
Didn't hurt
Why'd you got to bring that up?
Right.
Why'd you got to bring
It
that up?
didn't-
Why you got to be negative?
He bounced back,
It's
didn't
because you picked the Rams.
He
It's because
bounced
you
back.
picked the Rams.
You know what? I ain't crow.
I don't even count that.
I don't
even count
yeah,
that.
that was on
The way
prior.
he played, man.
That was on prior. Wasn't even on Jalen Hurts. Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Thanks, Mark.
Bailey, I'm sorry we get to talking.
You're
sometimes.
good. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, fans are talking about Lane Johnson getting hurt early. With him not being in the game, how much do you think that affected the offense?
Remember when the Eagles' offense was terrible? That's how much it affected, I think. Look, the numbers are off the charts when you talk about Lane Johnson not playing for this team. And the thing that was so insane was last year when he didn't have Fred Johnson stepped in and was incredible. To see Pryor come off the bench and be the first guy off the bench to replace Lane Johnson was ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Now, I understand we have Nick Sirianni standing by right now, so maybe he's going to chime in on this as well. I'm sure he'll be asked about it after the game. Let's get to Nick Sirianni and what he has to say to the media.
And it's a great feeling. It's an emotional game. What I said to the guys today, and I'm sure you guys will ask this question, it's an emotional game. You can tell by our faces after the game how emotional it can be, but we have to keep our emotions in check. We know the league is and rightfully so is cracking down on some of the taunting and the shit talking and that's what they want, and I respect that. We have to do a better job because we had 3 personal fouls today. So we have to do a better job of keeping our emotions in check. It's awesome. It's emotional to win a way like that, but we have to the same mental toughness that we had in this football game, to be able to have everything, not coaching worth a crap or not playing worth a crap early on in the game, to come back and be able to win. That same emotion that you have, that mental toughness, play in, play out, we have to be able to have in moments like that as well. And that we can look at the blame on that is only on me, and I know I'm relentless. I'll do everything I can do to get it fixed, because we got to fix that, because that will cost you. It could have cost us today. And so again, we have a good framework of our mental toughness, but we have to have that same mental toughness, when the emotions are high in a football game.
Devontae cited tempo as the reason why the offense went from not being effective in the first half to being very effective later. Why was that effective?
Tempo is something that is a weapon for us. Sometimes with tempo, it's hard to go tempo when field position wasn't great today, and again, when it looks like that on the field, the look to nobody other than me. We didn't do a great job. I could have done a better job of adjusting faster on our kickoff return. And they got a weapon there with their kickoff coverage, and Sean knows that, and he does it. I've not been shy about me thinking Sean's one of the best coaches in the NFL, and they did a really good job on their kickoff. And so tempo sometimes is when you're backed up, when you're not being successful on first down, it's hard to get to on second down at times. I'm not saying you can't do it. We did it a couple times in the second half, but we've operated well out of tempo in the past. We've been pretty good on our 2-minute drives, which is obviously out of tempo, and that's something that's a tool there for you every game, but especially when you're struggling. I thought Kevin did a good job of getting to that, and we did a good job as an offense getting to that and calling it from there. Obviously, the first half and really the first 2 possessions of the second half, offensively and defensively, it couldn't have went much worse. Now, we did a great job on defense, holding them to 3 points and keeping the game manageable, where if we just kept fighting and kept clawing, that we'd have a chance, and got some big stops there in the second half. But that was a weapon for us that we've operated well out of, and it worked well today in the second half.
Jerry, from his perspective, what do you think will stick with you more? The first half, I'm sure you'll think there's some things you got to clean up, or that second half where you come back?
Yeah, I'll always remember this win. You're kind of similar to what you asked me about the Super Bowl. You'll always remember the good times there. I don't remember who asked me that, but you'll remember those good times there, and it'll be a good moment to remember that. I still remember the Buffalo game from 23, but we got a lot to clean up. And tomorrow, today we'll celebrate. Tomorrow, will be a normal Monday, right? It will be a normal Monday, and we'll get in there. We'll tell the truth to each other. And all in attempts to get better, because we have to get better. We know that, and there's a process to it. And so both, those downtime, hard times, when you're in hard times, tend to teach you even more than when you're in successful times. And so it was sure as heck hard in the first half. They came out ready to play. I know we came out ready to play. It just didn't, it didn't work what we were doing. And, but I'm so proud of the guys, that the fight that they have. We're on the ground, and you can get counted out in those moments, like in boxing. But if you get up and keep fighting and keep swinging, in this game, you always got a chance. And I urge them in the locker room just to remember that, because you're going to go through hard times in life. You're going to go through hard times in football, and I just urge them to remember that when we're in another hard time. I urge them to remember that when they're in a hard time in their life, that you just keep getting up. And we got relentless guys in there, and we have relentless players. We have relentless coaches that just kept getting up. And when I think a lot of teams would have stayed down. And, part of that is the success that we have. Big part of that is the guys that Howie brings in here and the culture that we have, that we talk an awful lot about mental toughness and relentless effort, and there's something dangerous about a team that just doesn't stop coming after you regardless of the circumstances. So, we got the win today on that, but I was proud of the guys that they just kept fighting. I'd have been proud of them if, they made that last field goal as well, that they just kept fighting. Obviously, this is a better feeling, but we got a lot to clean up.
Nick Sirianni right there addressing the media following the Eagles' 33-26 come from behind victory. Bailey Livesey, we thank you a lot for keeping tabs on the social media and all the excitement that is going on right now following this Eagles victory. We'll be right back. You want to add something? Right?
Yeah, hold on before you go.
Go for it.
So Skizat said this is just fun.
Okay.
Skizat in the chat said, they ought to ban field goal blocking because the Eagles clearly are good at doing it. It must be banned now. That's classic.
That is a great line. Skizat?
Yes.
Skizat. Great job. Great line. All right, when we come back on the Verizon Post Game Show, we're going to give you the drive of the game where the Eagles were able to take control. All that and more coming up in a few.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. Philadelphia Eagles fighting their way back in this one to the tune of a 33-26 win over the LA Rams. The Rams dropped to 2-1. Your Philadelphia Eagles still oh so perfect. 3-0 to begin the new year. And one of the key moments in this game had to do every bit with what's going to be our drive of the game. And this came by way of the fourth quarter. Jalen Hurts leading the charge on this drive that goes 17 plays, 91 yards. With that little run-out play there by Devontae Smith to catch it for a 4-yard touchdown reception. This was after the, not to be confused with the second time the Eagles blocked a field goal, the first time they blocked a field goal to help turn the tides of this fourth quarter. Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense milked the clock along the way as well. They go from the 8:42 mark all the way down to the 1:51 mark, a 6-minute and 54-second drive before, again, special teams came up as a hero and a scoop and score blocked field goal by Jordan Davis. But this drive right here, Seth, that's the one that turned the tide for the Eagles.
You know, I've been in a lot of long drives during my playing days. I can't imagine being on the field for 17 straight plays as a defense.
91 yards.
Good gosh.
Are they literally sucking wind out there? Is that just totally wearing down the defense?
Yeah, I mean, especially if if they ran their offense the way that, Devontae said, that they were basically in hurry up, then absolutely, because that means you're not getting off the field. And you know what, to be honest with you, the linebackers and the guys on the back ends, the safeties and corners, they're not coming off the field anyway. The only guys that are going to get any air are the guys up front. They're going to get subbed out, But, man, that's a lot of football in one drive.
Go ahead.
After the game, Sirianni said he was proud of the way A.J. has handled his slow statistical start to the season. And you look at the drive of the game, A.J. had 2 definitive catches on that drive. They were in a 3rd and 10 situation from the 9. He makes the catch and not only gets the first down, spins out of a would-be tackler and picks up additional yards for a 25-yard gain. Then later in the drive, he makes another big catch for 20-plus yards as well. So we can put the is A.J. about to implode theory to rest for at least another week or two.
Degon, that's why I don't get caught up in that, because I've been in that situation before, in a negative way. I can remember, playing with the Cardinals, my last year with the Cardinals, and the wins were far and few between. And we had just won a game, was sitting in the locker room, and one of my linebacker mates was sitting in his chair, and the whole locker room was abuzz, okay? He sat in his chair with his head between his legs, and he was upset. And I'm like, dude, what's the problem, man? He was like, man, all I had was 2 tackles today. And when he said that, it became very apparent to me that, first of all, going to the Arizona Cardinals from a career perspective was the worst move I ever made. Not from a financial position, but from a career perspective. And then it shed some light on why the Cardinals had always been so bad, because these players were concerned with their own personal stats rather than winning football games. And that's what happens to losing teams. That's why I don't like this talk about the personal stats, because you want to know something? And I told him, I said, listen, you may come back next week and have 15 tackles. I said, average that out over a season, okay? Or let's say 20 tackles. That's 10 tackles a game, man. I said, that's just the way the game works. Some games you're going to be the star, some games you're not going to be the star.
Right.
And it always balances itself out. Now, AJ's going. People need to shut up about it. If he comes back next week and he don't get but 5 targets and 3 catches, I still want y'all to shut up about it, because the game is a team game. And next week may be Devontae's week, or Dallas Goedert's week, or Jahan Dotson's week, okay? But everybody is so concerned about whether AJ get the ball. Yes, he's a big deal. He's a big deal. But the most important thing, and I wouldn't care if AJ only got 50 catches in this whole season, but if they went undefeated, guess what? Mission accomplished, on to 2027 season.
But would AJ be,
or 26?
Would AJ be content with just 50 catches? Now, see, you have a valid point, but I say this from a media perspective. Why do we talk about AJ? Because AJ gives us hints when he's a little bit upset. His body language, indirect comments he will make you leave
he
does.
No, you want to know what it is? The media asks him questions, and he responds to the questions, okay? If the question would be to A.J. Brown when he's not getting the ball, okay, so I'm glad y'all put us on the 3-way, because I want to direct this as a reporter, okay, and I'm a reporter now, okay. The questions that you ask are the questions that players answer, okay, and he can have all the body language that he wants, okay, but if the reporters went to his locker and the only thing they asked him about, okay, was the wins and the loss, the only questions that he would have to answer is about the wins and the loss. But when you go to his locker and, you only had 1 catch for 8 yards, what do you think you're going to get, okay? A lot of that falls on the questioning that happens, okay?
No. When you play the game at this level, and especially if you play big-time college football, you should know how to answer certain questions. When a player comes out of his face, if you ask me 20 times about my lack of individual productivity and I give you an answer, I'm not in this for the participation. That's a red flag to the media right there. That's like throwing a bone to a dog or a raw piece of meat to piranhas, because you know for a fact They're going to gravitate towards that because of certain instances that happened in the previous season.
So what you're telling me is,
gotta be smarter
so
than
what
that.
you're telling me is that the media, for the most part, are always looking for the story and always trying to stir the pot up, right? Because if you ask the question, but wait a minute, if you ask Devontae Smith the same question, you know the answer you're going to get, right?
You know why? Because he's better groomed in terms of answering his question.
It ain't a groom thing.
Yeah, it is, because he doesn't wear his emotion on his sleeve the way AJ does.
Well, listen, I wore my personality on my sleeve, okay? People knew that they could come to me and I was going to give it to them 100% real, okay? So if you ask me the right questions, you're going to strike a nerve, okay? So in this city, the team is 3-0.
Yes, no question.
But what's going to happen is people are going to continue to ask questions to certain players that they know they're going to operate a certain way. So what you're saying is they're operating, they're doing it for the reason to get a story.
You know what the best way to diffuse that is from a player's perspective? All the player has to say, I don't want to talk about that. We won the game.
Yeah.
That's all. But he doesn't say that a lot of times. A lot of times he doesn't say that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people in all the years I've been covering this game, one of my favorite people to interview was Malcolm Jenkins. You know why? Malcolm, when he wanted to talk, was very insightful. But when Malcolm knew he might be set up or baited into a conversation, there was one time he put tape over his mouth. And remember that time he just held up signs? Yeah. Okay? And he left you wondering, what's he talking about? He never gave you definitive answers. If he didn't want to talk about a subject, he would tell you, I'm not talking about that today. See, it's about the individual learning when the media is trying to bait him. You're all smart enough to know that. Most of these guys have played big-time college football. You know what's going to happen in certain situations. Some players allow their mouths to get the best of them. Body language, they were across the board. CJ was a player like that. You know what I'm saying? It's sometimes, and I'm not saying this about AJ. I don't want people putting words in my mouth. There are players, Seth, you just said it. There are players who are concerned more about their individual numbers than they are about the overall team concept. I'm not saying that's what AJ is. AJ has been the consummate team player for the most part, but sometimes he lets you in the door of how his emotions are truly feeling. And that's when the media swarms in, for good, bad, or ugly. The media swarms in.
Some guys have the ability to control their emotions.
Sure they do.
Some guys' emotions are what makes them great players.
I get that.
You know, and they don't.
I get that.
You know, I've been guilty of that in my career. I wear my heart on my sleeve because I play with my heart on my sleeve. So especially when I played for a coach that I didn't necessarily respect and I could see what he was bringing to the table gave us no real shot at winning. You know, then, and I was out of control. I agree, 100%.
Right.
I was out of control. But when you ask a guy like AJ, you know, he tries to do his best, Mark, not to be divisive, you know. But the problem is, if you ask him a question, he starts tap dancing around it. So then they start digging a little deeper, and they ask a question that probes just a little bit more, and then they get a little more out of him. And you know, maybe, you know, D-Gun, listen, there's some validity to what you're saying, but I think that there's some validity to what I'm saying too, because I agree with you. Because I think that if you're the outside media, outside Philadelphia that wants to see the worst for this team transpire, then you're going to ask those divisive questions to cause friction. But the media that is right here in Philadelphia that wants to see multiple Super Bowls come, stop asking them dumbass questions.
It's not going to happen. That's not what they do in the media. And I'm going to tell you this again, and I'm going to tell you, and I'll sit here and bet you as much money as you want to bet. There's going to be another game. It could be a series of games where AJ gets 1, 2, 3 catches. What's the line of questioning going to be to AJ when they hit him at the locker?
Oh, they're going to ask him about his big day.
There you go.
And why?
Or about his numbers.
Yeah.
Lack of numbers, lack of looks.
Yeah.
So AJ,
what do you think his response is going to be?
I don't know. We don't know.
Just another day at the office.
No.
That's what it should be.
Exactly. But we
know
that's not going to be to happen.
It should be we're winning.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
good.
winning.
But here's A.J. Brown's problem, and I love A.J. I hope A.J. Brown signs a 10-year contract here in Philadelphia.
He ain't got 10 more years.
Well, I don't care. That's how much I love him, and I want him to be here.
Hold up 10 more
Theoretically, signs a 10-year deal, okay? But he is a guy that will drop those nuggets along the way, letting people know that there's a problem. Direct quote this past week. He gets asked a question about the passing game. He says, yeah, well, you know, never mind. I don't want to give you guys a story. And so he leads to He leads you to believe that there's a bigger problem, really acknowledges that there's a problem. So, and look, during his media ice out 3 years ago, I loved every. I said, good for you, AJ. You probably got nothing nice to say. You don't want to say it. What did he say when he eventually addressed the media for 13 minutes in his locker? I had nothing nice to say, so I didn't want to say it. I love that. The book, I don't like anybody doing anything on the sidelines that's not football, so that wasn't even an AJ Brown thing. But as far as him leading reporters to think that there's more than what he's just saying, he is, and again, love the guy, 1,000% guilty of that.
Yeah. Now, I look at here in the chat. Javon Womack said, hey, remember Slay posted his stats after they lost.
That's right.
See, stuff like that.
That's right.
And then I equated to what happened recently with Nick Castellanos in the Phillies.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, the team is winning. They've wrapped up the division. They're trying to close in on the Brewers for best overall record in the National League. All they want to talk to Castellanos about is his lack of playing time.
He had 3 RBIs that game.
Castellanos took the bait. What did he say?
Yeah, he
I don't really talk to Rob Thompson. And they're like, what? There's controversy. This tiff brewing between management and players.
But to confirm, oh, yeah, we love blood in the water, Seth.
Yes.
Don't you worry.
There's no question about it.
Some people provide the shark attacks.
I get it. I've got to, even though I live in this universe now, there's a side of me that still lives over there on the other side too, you know. And I can understand why players feel the way they feel. But I think sometimes, you know, it's like when I think we got Jalen. We'll come back to it.
We have Jalen Hurts, addressing the media right now down at the lake.
Look at the passing offense.
And I think we played a good brand of football.
I think it was not being as conservative.
What's conservative?
AJ had mentioned that he wanted felt like the offense could be a little more open.
They opened up in the second half.
What was the process like with adjustments in this game? How did that go down?
It was a matter of just figuring it out. You know, I think, you know, let me just set the pace here. You know, when you look at a game like that, and you're able to find a way to win, I know we're gonna, you know, point the fingers and point our attention to what's going on the offensive side of the ball, but we won the game. We were gritty in the game. We stayed together as a team. We did not quit. Nobody gave up. And in competitive sports, that's what it's about. And I'm very proud of that. I'm not proud of how we started the game. I'm not proud of the flow in which we played, the execution and the focus that we had earlier in the game. But I am proud of everybody not giving up and everybody being determined to find a way to win the game. And there wasn't a doubt in my mind that someone was going to make a play on that field goal, especially looking at those two Georgia guys lined up next to each other. And, you know, win, lose, or draw, we were going to look back and be very critical of ourselves, and that's what we would be. And we're very eager to grow, you know, as always, but there's a lot to learn from, you know, sometimes, and there's a lot to learn from. And I say you either win or you learn, right? But when you win and you feel like you got a lot to learn, you need to come on with the come on.
Did it help the offense to go up-tempo a little bit, go no huddle, especially after your first possession when you had to turn over?
I think it's important as offense in general to make it about what you do as an offense and not necessarily the opponent. Exotic looks you may get, there may be someone who chooses to attack us in a certain way, and it's about having the built-in things to respond to those things when they come, playing within the system, playing within your roles, playing within what you're coached to do, and making sure that we're coached to execute it in a advantageous and high leverage way, but also just playing within ourselves. And I think in the second half, you know, when pressure was as high as it was, you know, we kind of just let it loose and went out there and played. And that's the brand of football we played
along the years for a long time, so I don't necessarily want to make it harder than what it is. We just got to go out there and execute and play the style of football that we know we can play. And the beautiful part about it is we've been able to play and win in multiple ways, right? We've been able to play defensive games, play well on defense, and protect the ball and win games. We've been able to be very efficient and potent and have a lot of fireworks on offense over time and find ways to win games. We've been able to come back from very, very ugly situations, and it's a dangerous thing. And Coach Sirianni, I'll say, he talks about it's a dangerous thing when a group never gives up, and this group never gave up. And that's what I'm very proud of. And I think a win like this is encouraging, but it also lights a fire under everybody to strive for the level of execution that we want. When we talk about playing for a standard, the standard isn't to produce or to have numbers or certain statistics. It's to execute whatever we're asked to do. And I don't think we did that in the first half. I think we kind of changed our approach in the second half, and that definitely helped us weather throughout the game and make plays the way we did. But it's about execution, in this game. And the way I learned football from Coach Saban, it's about playing to a standard. We play to win. We also play to a standard. And so we can't lose sight of what that is, given all the things that we've been able to do over time.
Jalen, it seemed like on the broadcast you were very vocal with not only your teammates but defensively firing them up. How important was the collaboration with Kevin Patullo arriving together on what works best in the second half?
Well, it was a complete team effort, and I had the reflection of whatever it takes. If it meant getting out of character, given the situation and just trying to do it, because it's the only thing that we ever cared about out there. Go out there and find a way to win the game. And so there's a lot of passion on that field, a lot to learn from on the field, and I think it's always great to be able to navigate a way to find a win. And every week is completely different. We got a great challenge coming up this week, but this is very revealing about our team, very revealing. A lot to learn from, obviously, but to be able to make plays when you need them the most, there's no such thing as luck. You make your own luck.
Jalen Hurts addressing the media at the Lincoln Financial Field following the Eagles' 33-26 win. A lot of great stuff there. You heard it right there at the end. Just always finding a way to make plays there for this Philadelphia Eagles team, whether defense, whether offense, whether special teams. They're not only finding ways to win games, but they're making big plays to win those games. Drew Bakuba last week, for instance, coming up with a big play that changed things around for the Eagles. And, of course, the touchdown on the tush push last week against the Chiefs as well. When we come back, we'll break it down even further. We'll focus a little bit more on Jalen Hurts and his role in the Eagles coming back to the victory, as well as his line about stepping out of character to make sure that his team was focused in that fourth quarter. All that and more when we return on the Verizon Post Game Show.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer, like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Coming up in this segment, we're going to talk to our sports doc, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, on the heels of the Eagles' 33-26 win, come from behind win against the LA Rams. But Seth, I want to ask you this question about Jalen Hurts because 2 years ago, going into their Super Bowl winning season, one of the big conversation points was, is Jalen Hurts enough of a vocal leader? You don't have Fletcher Cox here anymore. You don't have Jason Kelce here anymore. Is he going to step in and be more of that vocal leader? There was a report out there about how he deferred that to A.J. Brown. If he needed a message delivered, he oftentimes just waited for A.J. Brown to say it, and he backed off. We are seeing last year and this year, him, as he put it, step out of his comfort zone. We made a point while we were watching the game. He's on the sideline. He's talking to the offensive line. He's talking to the defense. He's talking to pretty much everybody when it came to just trying to rally the troops there in that fourth quarter. I mean, how difficult is a guy for him to step out of what he calls his comfort zone to make sure everybody else is laser focused on the task at hand?
Well, I think it's an evolution. Anytime that you become a leader, you become a leader over time. It's not, just because you become the quarterback and they throw the C on your chest, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you're a leader. It's an evolution for just about anybody who wears the C, and it's an evolution for anyone who develops, into a leader on a football team. He's not used to being that way. He's used to leading by example. You guys hear me talk about it all the time. I believe that there's two different types of leaders. There's the leader that leads by example that doesn't say much, but then there's the leader that leads by example, because you can only be a leader when you're leading by example. But that leader that leads by example and he's vocal. I think Jalen realizes and knows that he has to be that voice now, because you're starting to see some of the guys that were veterans when he was here starting to leave. Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, all of these guys, those guys were the leaders on this football team. So he has to step forward as the quarterback, because he is the unmitigated leader of the entire team, no matter what anybody thinks or what anybody says. I love how he started off, let me set the pace here.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you start to hear a quarterback, start to talk in that manner, you can begin to see, him stepping into his true nature as a leader. If I got to get out of character, anytime that you have success, you're going to have to get out of character a little bit. That means you're going to have to do some things that you don't necessarily want to do, or things that you might not feel like you have the skill set for, that you may have to develop over time in order to get there. That's what we're seeing with this evolution of Jalen Hurts as the quarterback and the unmitigated leader of this Philadelphia Eagles football team, D-Gun.
When you're the highest paid player on the team, obviously there's the onus put on you that's not put on anybody else. When you're in the most high-profile position in the National Football League, there's an onus put on you that's not put on anybody else. And a lot of times success or failure is not determined by you, but mishaps from other people, yet it comes back to you. And, we don't know what Jalen Hurts was really like as a kid coming up. Was he shy? Was he quiet? We know he played in two prominent programs in Alabama and Oklahoma. Had a lot of tremendous success. Probably always let his actions speak louder than his words. Now as a professional businessman, where the quarterback of a franchise is the most looked at position of any position in the game, certain traits have to be brought out in you to be effective. And you look at how he has won games with his legs, with his arms. You look at now, he has won games at the highest level. He has won that Super Bowl ring, was a Super Bowl MVP. Now the weight is even more, there's even more weight put upon you because you've achieved all these accolades. So to a certain point, you say to yourself, you know what? I got to take the reins and just run with this. I have to. It's my job to do that. And I love most of the time when he speaks, how he speaks to you, but he doesn't tell you what you want to know. And you sit there going, huh? But he leaves you wondering what exactly is he thinking? You know, he's a magician in terms of getting in and outs. Now, we talk about how the media is always drumming up controversy. We're always looking for blood in the water and stuff like that. He doesn't give you that. He leaves you wondering a lot of times, scratching your head, exactly what was he trying to tell you? But then you come back the next day and tell you the same thing. And that's the way it is. Now, when he's with his teammates on their field, in practice, away from practice, could be a completely different person. But for whatever reason, when the money's on the line, these guys rally around him. These guys gravitate towards him because they know more times than not, especially over the last 2+ seasons, he's going to get the job done.
Well, the question was, how animated he was on the sideline. And rightfully so. I think he's, as a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, now the unmitigated leader of this football team, I feel like, he has to be that guy to step up. And that animation was not with other players. He was encouraging other players. But the thing was him engaging coaches.
Coaches, yeah.
Like, this is what we need to do. This is what we want to do. This is how it's going. And, it started last year. Hey, the offense is going to look the way that Jalen wants to look. And it's talking in the third person. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like you can see the natural progression. And, he's got to be that way if this team is going to have success, in my opinion.
I did not expect to throw into the arsenal of Jalen Hurts improvement. I mean, I expected, you get better at pre-snap reads, particularly reading the defense, check downs and all that stuff. We've seen that happen. But I don't remember too many times where I have seen an athlete almost change their personality and what they're comfortable in doing. Usually, he's the quiet type. He's got to be him. He's got to be true to himself. Well, I think the truest form to him is to be a leader, no matter what it takes. Just like when he talks about winning, whatever it takes.
Well, you know what I think the problem is, D-Gun? There are certain guys that get drafted in the National Football League, especially at the quarterback position, that by the time they get drafted, they're already, ascribed the tag of being a leader, okay? And being not a game manager, but a game general, okay? Jalen Hurts being drafted in the second round, he didn't come into the league with that. If you look at his trajectory at Alabama, winning a national championship, and then being shunned for Tua, and then having to go to Oklahoma, to kind of resurrect his career a little bit, obviously you're going to look at when you have to go through that roller coaster of a ride that, maybe teams don't look at you that way.
Right.
So now he's coming to his own as a Super Bowl winning quarterback here, in the 4 or 5 year span that he's been here. And I keep saying it, but people don't hear it, and I'm going to keep saying it. Jalen Hurts is as much of a field general as any other quarterback in the National Football League because of what he's asked to do, okay? And I'll break it down even further. When he runs the RPO, he has to make critical decisions. Do I give it to Saquon? Do I pull it? And if I pull it, do I run it or do I throw it? Okay? Read option. Do I give it or do I keep it? And a wrong decision means a loss of yardage. You understand? And a loss down in a lot of regards. Okay? Jason Kelce retires. And Jalen says, hey, I want to be in charge of setting the protections. Okay? Last year was his first full year doing it. Okay? He's still got to do it now. He's getting it done. He's got to stand at the line of scrimmage and survey the defense, okay, and decipher what front they're in and what coverage they're in. And, is the play that was called, is it the correct play for us to be in, or do I need to check out of it, okay? And people would say, every quarterback is doing that. But Jalen Hurts never gets credit, D-Gun, for doing all of those things. He just gets credit for being a great athlete who happens to play the position of quarterback. Okay, and when he has a day like he had today, and he has flashes as a great passer. Okay, but what I'm saying is that he has the ability to do it all across the board. And the rest of the NFL and every fan in the NFL and all the media people need to start recognizing him as that. and give him that respect because he's always been a leader.
I don't think it's going to happen, Seth, to be honest with you. I don't think Jalen will ever get his due respect from a national perspective.
How many Super Bowls does this kid have to win
I
in
agree.
order to get that?
I
Because
agree 100%.
every other quarterback in the NFL that has ascended to the heights that he's ascended
agree.
to, they've given him that honor.
It's the damnest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this. In terms of all he does is win, but yet he's always scrutinized and chastised for what supposedly he cannot do. I mean, think about it. I mean, there have been a number of average quarterbacks who've won Super Bowls in the National Football League that have been put on pedestals, i.e. Trent Dilfer, quarterbacks like that. But yet this guy doesn't get in trouble, doesn't give you anything wrong to say to gravitate towards, goes out there, gets his job done. He may throw up 100 yards, but he might run for 85 significant yards. Might throw for 300 yards, throw 3 touchdowns. It's not good enough. Nothing is ever good enough when it comes to him, And let's face it, be honest, we've all chastised him as we've watched him mature in his career. But give his due where it's due. Give it due where it's due. Okay, 3 years ago, we were wondering what Jalen Hurts was. 2 years ago, we were still wondering, is he going to ever turn that corner? Last year, we saw the full maturation, I think, of Jalen Hurts as an NFL quarterback. And we all admitted we criticized him, and we gave him his due. And I'm still looking. The man stood on that podium, hoisted the Super Bowl trophy, named the game's MVP, and all offseason, all I saw was negativity nationally about what Jalen Hurts is not in terms of a complete quarterback in the National Football League. I don't know what a complete quarterback is in the National Football League in today's game anymore.
D-Gun, I've always given him his due. I believed in Jalen Hurts when a lot of people didn't, okay? Because I felt like what that kid had gone through in his college career, not only was Philadelphia the right place for him because he would be able to handle the scrutiny here, but I could see you don't go to Oklahoma and throw for 3,800 yards and 35 touchdowns and rush for 1,200 yards and another 20-something touchdowns and not have what it takes to play at the next level, okay? So while a lot of people won't give him his due, I've always given him his due. But our job as media personalities is to analyze the game.
What we see.
Exactly. So when there's been times where he hasn't performed up to the level that we felt that he should have, or he didn't make the right decisions or the right plays, okay? We're justified in saying that, you know what, I got concerns about Jalen right here. My concerns in no way is a reflection of how I feel about him as a quarterback or how good I think he can be.
Yep.
I can have an opinion in the moment, in the game, during a series, a negative thought for a second without it being that I feel like that's what he is. Because a lot of people on social media, oh, you wasn't saying that last year, through the first 4 games of the season. Well, guess what? The same way that Nick Sirianni grew into a better head coach after 4 games last year, so has Jalen Hurts. He has grown over 4 years into the quarterback that we see now.
Right.
And people need to start giving him respect for that.
I couldn't agree more. Let's get to our doctor, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, our sports doc. We need to hear about some updates here, especially Lane Johnson in particular, who left the game early today. That's the part where we saw Matt Pryor instead of Fred Johnson right out of the gate, which nobody approved in this studio. And we got some other injuries to talk about as well. Dr. Bruce Grossinger, welcome to the show. We appreciate you stopping by. Let's start off with Lane Johnson. What have you heard, Doc?
I've heard that he spoke to Jeff McClain in the locker room, and he said that he thought he had a stinger, which we would hope is correct. A stinger really is an irritation of a nerve root in the neck that mimics a serious neck problem to the extent that they kept him out of the game. But he believes he'll be back next week. As we got that little insight, they'll probably do an MRI of the neck tomorrow just to use abundance of caution. But Lane is so important that if it is a stinger, that would certainly be fortuitous going into Tampa Bay week.
All right, I've also heard. Oh, go ahead. I also heard with Jalen Carter. Or
well, I mean, I wanted to ask you a question, Doc, about about Lane, because when he was sitting on the sideline, he looked a little bit dazed. Looked more like he was concussed than it necessarily was a neck thing. He was like off in a faraway place. It looked like.
Yeah, it was hard. I was at the game, and Section 111, I wasn't able to get that same eye on that you were, Seth. I didn't hear about a concussion he might have been dismayed because obviously we saw the first half and he probably thought about Matt Pryor a little bit. So I don't know. I didn't hear that he had a concussion, but you never could tell. He's a very stoic individual. So Lane maybe was able to keep that from people.
So Doc, when you talk about a stinger and you said it could be similar to a serious neck injury, how do you treat it moving forward?
It's a great question. So if this was, let's say, a herniated disc, something that Peyton Manning suffered where he ultimately needed surgery, that would be a more persistent situation where he would have neck pain radiating into one or both sides. He would have weakness on examination, and it would not be short-lived or transient. According to Lane, after the game, he said that his symptoms had resolved entirely, and he was ready. He literally said, I'm ready to play next week. So ultimately, they're going to do an MRI, which we would expect to be normal if it's a stinger. If there was a disc injury, a disc bulge, or disc herniation, that would be a different scenario. So stingers are very common. I'm sure Seth has experienced that. And at the time, you just don't know. And when you have somebody as important as him, you just don't take a chance of putting him back with a neck injury, putting him back in the game in a cavalier fashion.
All right, so I'm hearing this term stinger now being applied to Jalen Carter. So now I'm a little bit confused here. How does it apply to Jalen Carter with him grabbing his hand the last 2 weeks?
Well, I would say stinger, I think, is a little bit broader. I would say that Jalen Carter had a shoulder strain or an acromioclavicular strain. That's very common. And some people, perhaps non-medical people, may call that a stinger. But I think it's qualitatively different, Mark, in that Carter had a shoulder inflammation, and as opposed to an acute neck injury, which turned out to be something called a neuropraxia. Sorry for the Latin. Neuropraxia is a nerve situation that mimics a serious nerve injury, but abates very quickly. That's what a stinger is.
I'm going to use that the next time somebody refers to it as a stinger. That's a non-medical term. What you're looking is a neuroplexia.
It's a neuropraxia.
Obviously. It's a neuropraxia, obviously. Don't you know a neuropraxia when you see one? Dr. Bruce Drosy.
Wait a minute.
Oh, go ahead.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Listen, I know nobody really cares, but Adoree Jackson missed some time today, too. Did you hear anything about it?
Yeah, I heard he had a groin strain, that he strained his groin. We don't know the nature of it. We could certainly perhaps joke about it. But nonetheless, we can only hope that it's another situation that will respond to PT, to ice and stretching. And he wasn't in the game, and nobody in my section really missed him.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Ouch. Ouch.
Dr. Bruce Drosy, we appreciate you hustling back from Lincoln Financial Field to be here for your post-game hit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back after this on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, on 6abc.com, as well with the Verizon Post Game Show.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. Eagles do it despite being down 26-7, as they say, and been saying through last year and this year. They find a way to win the game. Seth, when you look back on this game, what would be your major takeaway?
Well, I said all week long, on my podcast, on my TV show this week, that this would be their toughest test to date. Defensively, they're a tough football team. Offensively, they got a lot of weapons. The Rams do. The Eagles struggled through the first half and righted the ship and found a way to win. Is that not the story of their season thus far? Isn't that their story, as a whole? It's the story of Philadelphia. We find a way to get done what needs to be done when it needs to be done to come out on top. That's what the Eagles did today. And guess what? Their schedule is set up in a way where we may see this, we may look at this movie, this picture all over again on a number of occasions throughout the season.
I couldn't agree more. Every week it's somebody different making a play. You look at a lot of teams, they rely on certain players to make plays at crucial points of a season. But this particular team, for whatever reason, we're talking about different names each and every week. And because of the clientele of players that teams are going to face throughout the season, I think that's going to be a case. And that's not a bad thing. Because instead of looking to one or two, it's like basketball players. I always look for that one or two guy to make the big shot. Or, certain guys like a Kyle Schwarber hit me, or, that big hit. And with this team, you don't have to look around. You just have to say, you know what, it's my time. Maybe it's my time. And that's the way you build championship teams. Instead of looking to your left or to your right, trying to figure out, man, please make a play. We need you. You know what? It's my time. It was his time last week. It was his time the week before. Now it's my time to step up. And winning breeds that kind of confidence. If you were losing, you'd be sitting there doubting yourself each and every week. But when you're winning and finding ways to win, and this team 3 consecutive weeks has found 3 different ways to win football games, that's a confidence enhancer right there across the board.
Diamonds are created by heat and pressure. The way this team won this game today, and if they face this more throughout the season, I don't really look at it as a bad thing, because the more heat and the more pressure that they're put under, now the better they'll be able to handle it, when the rubber really meets the road and they get in the playoffs. Because when they get in the playoffs this year, there's going to be a lot of players on this team that's never been there and done that before. There's going to be a lot of guys that has, but the more that they can be under that kind of pressure, Mark, the better it's going to serve them down the road, because only great things that are forged under heat, pressure, and consistent, conflict ever turns into something that's really worthy and something worth having.
And they have certainly made every really moment count this season.
Absolutely.
Even if it comes down to the wire.
Yep.
My major takeaway is Jalen Hurts today. Because just like people said going into that Super Bowl last year, if it has to come down to him throwing, can they win? Saquon Barkley averaged 2.6 yards per carry today. Jalen, now I understand they had to throw the ball in the second half. I understand how that all works, how that's all connected, of course. But Jalen Hurts was flat out money. Marched them down the field for their second touchdown of the game, and then continued to light it up as the game went on, coming up in the clutch time and time again, whether it was a scramble, whether it was the right throw, whether it was escaping pressure. He just continued to be money in that second half, and that's the guy that was a runner-up for the MVP award 3 years ago. That's the guy that led this team to a Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley. That's the guy that then became the Super Bowl MVP and a Super Bowl champion last year and continues that momentum this year. Last year I had a concern about the passing game getting atrophied, was the buzzword last year, or out of sync. It was out of sync going into this game, but when push came to shove, as this team does time and time again, they find a way to win, they find a way to get in sync, and they find out a way to get out on top. For Seth Joyner, for Derek Gunn, for Bailey Livesey, for Dr. Bruce Grossinger, we appreciate you guys joining us here on the Verizon Post Game Show. Make sure you like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. We also appreciate you guys joining us on 6abc.com. Special shout out, by the way, Rob Blumenthal of Tinderbox for hosting us while we were watching the game. Some fine cigars over there at the Tinderbox.
Yes, sir.
And White Dog Cafe providing our meal during the game. We appreciate you guys greatly. We'll be back with you guys next week, kicking off against those dreaded Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Another tough one.
In
Another
week
tough one.
4 action. We'll see you guys then.